The steady beep of the heart monitor was my only companion in the sterile hospital room. Through the haze of pain medication, I could make out my sister Emma standing in the doorway holding her designer travel bag. Behind her, our parents were already dressed for their vacation, not a hint of concern on their faces. "We're off to Europe. Don't call unless it's an emergency," Mom chirped, adjusting her silk scarf. "The doctors say you'll be fine anyway." I tried to speak, but the breathing tube made it impossible. Fine. I had 3 broken ribs, a punctured lung, and a fractured femur from the car crash. The doctors had just performed emergency surgery yesterday. "Oh, and sweetie," Mom added, checking her phone, "we used your emergency credit card for the tickets. You understand, right? Emma's graduation trip can't wait." I closed my eyes, fighting back tears. My emergency card, the one I'd saved $15,000 on for potential medical expenses. They drained it for first-class tickets to Europe. Dad barely looked at me as he checked his watch. "Our car to the airport is waiting. The nurses will take care of you." Emma smirked, pulling out her new passport. "Try not to die while we're gone. That would totally ruin our vacation." They left without another word, their designer luggage rolling across the hospital floor. The sound echoed in my head like thunder. What they didn't know was that I wasn't just their convenient ATM anymore. 3 months ago, I'd been promoted to Senior Investment Director at Maxwell Finance. I managed billion-dollar portfolios for our highest net worth clients. But to my family, I was just Caroline, the reliable one they could always squeeze money from. When I was 12, Mom had opened my first bank account. "Always save," she'd lectured, "because family comes first." Over the years, I'd watched as they drained every account I built, always with the same excuse: family helps family. Emma's first car? My savings. Dad's golf club membership? My bonus. Mom's luxury spa weekends? My overtime pay. Each time I tried to refuse, they'd weaponize guilt. "Don't you care about family?" But lying in that hospital bed, watching them choose a European vacation over their critically injured daughter, something crystallized in my mind. Family doesn't treat family like this. That night, drifting in and out of consciousness, I made a decision. With my good arm, I reached for my phone and dialed my assistant's number. "Jessica? I need you to initiate Protocol Zero." Protocol Zero was something I'd set up 6 months ago, after I caught my parents trying to take out a loan in my name. It was my nuclear option, my escape plan. I never thought I'd actually use it. "Are you sure?" Jessica asked, concern evident in her voice. "Once it starts." "Do it," I whispered. "All of it." Over the next 3 days, as I slowly recovered, Jessica executed my carefully crafted plan. First, she transferred all my money to new, secure accounts. Then she contacted every bank and credit card company, revoking my parents' access and authorized user status. Finally, she began the process of securing my assets, including the house my parents lived in, the one I'd been paying the mortgage on for the past 5 years. They had no idea that their luxury home, the one they loved to show off at parties, was actually in my name. They'd defaulted on the payments years ago, and I'd quietly taken over to save them from foreclosure. Just another secret sacrifice they'd taken for granted. A week into my hospital stay, Emma posted pictures of their Paris adventures on Instagram. There they were, sipping champagne at rooftop bars, shopping at designer boutiques, taking sunset cruises on the Seine, all funded by my emergency savings. The nurses would check on me, seeing my tears, assuming they were from physical pain. How could I explain that my own family had abandoned me after a near-fatal accident, choosing a vacation over my recovery? But I wasn't that same vulnerable daughter anymore. As I lay there planning and plotting, I thought about all the times they'd taken advantage of me. The missed birthdays because Emma needed something. The drained accounts because family helps family. The constant expectations that I would fix their financial mistakes while they lived like royalty. 2 weeks into my recovery, I got an unexpected visit. My grandmother, Dad's mother, walked into my room, took one look at me and burst into tears. "I just found out," she said, clutching my hand. "They told everyone you were on a business trip. How could they do this to you?" I wasn't surprised they'd lied. Image was everything to them. "I'm done, Grandma," I whispered. "When they get back, everything changes." She squeezed my hand, her eyes hard with determination. "Good. It's about time someone taught them a lesson about real family values." As I began physical therapy, learning to walk again, Each painful step strengthened my resolve. They thought they were enjoying a luxury European vacation. They had no idea they were actually funding their own downfall. My phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. Everything is in place. They won't know what hit them. I smiled, thinking about their return in 1 week. They'd fly home expecting everything to be the same, their dutiful daughter ready to keep funding their extravagant lifestyle. Instead, they'd find their entire world turned upside down. How long until I can leave? I asked my doctor during his evening rounds. He checked my charts. You're healing remarkably well. Maybe another week. Perfect timing. I looked out the hospital window at the setting sun, thinking about the storm that was about to break. They'd chosen a vacation over their daughter's recovery. Now they'd learn exactly what that choice would cost them. 3 weeks after my accident, I stood in my hospital room, carefully buttoning my blazer. My body still ached, but I refused to show any weakness. Not today. Through the window, I could see my grandmother's car waiting below. She'd insisted on being part of what we'd come to call Judgment Day. My phone buzzed, a text from Jessica. Their flight just landed. Perfect timing. While they'd been gallivanting around Europe, my plan had been executing flawlessly. Every bank account frozen. Every credit card canceled. Every asset secured. But the real surprise waited at their house, or rather my house. Ready? Grandma asked as I slid into her car's passenger seat. They're probably just getting home now, I said, checking my phone. Sure enough, Emma was already posting on Instagram, "Home sweet home after amazing European adventure. #blessed #family time." The irony made me sick. We parked across the street from their house, my house, and waited. Right on schedule, 2 luxury SUVs pulled into the driveway. The first carried my parents, the second Emma and all their shopping bags. They looked tanned, relaxed, and completely oblivious to what was coming. Then they tried to open the front door. Their keys didn't work. I watched through tinted windows as confusion spread across their faces. Dad tried his key again while Mom rummaged through her designer bag for hers. Nothing worked. What the hell? I could hear Emma's shrill voice even from here. That's when they noticed the security cameras I'd had installed, the new locks, and the small sign by the door, "Property of Maxwell Finance Holdings." Mom pulled out her phone, probably to call a locksmith. Instead, she froze, staring at the screen. "The cards aren't working," she said, her voice rising in panic. "None of them." Dad grabbed his phone, presumably trying to access their banking apps. His face went pale. "All the accounts. They're frozen. Everything's frozen." Emma was frantically tapping on her phone too. "My cards are declined. How am I supposed to post my shopping haul?" That's when I stepped out of Grandma's car. The moment they saw me, still bruised but standing tall in my business suit, their faces went through a range of emotions. Surprise, confusion, fear, and finally, understanding. "Caroline." Mom's voice wavered. "What's going on?" I walked slowly up the driveway, each step deliberate despite my lingering limp. "Welcome home. Enjoy your vacation." "What did you do?" Dad demanded, his face reddening. "I protected my assets," I replied calmly. "Everything you see here, the house, the cars in the garage, the furniture inside, it's all legally mine. Has been for years." "That's impossible," Emma shrieked. "This is our house." "Really?" I pulled out my phone, showing them the property deed. "You defaulted on the mortgage 5 years ago. I took over the payments to save you from foreclosure. Just like I paid for your car, Emma. And your golf membership, Dad. And your spa weekends, Mom." They stared at me in shocked silence. "But that's all over now," I continued. "I'm done being your personal bank." Mom stepped forward, adopting the guilt-trip tone she'd perfected over the years. "Sweetheart, you're upset about the hospital thing. We can explain." "Explain what?" I cut her off. "How you abandoned your critically injured daughter for a luxury vacation. How you stole my emergency fund for first-class tickets. We're family," Dad tried. "Family helps." "Don't." My voice could have frozen hell. "Don't you dare say, 'family helps family' to me. Not after what you did." Emma, always quick to switch tactics, suddenly burst into tears. "Where are we supposed to go? You can't just leave us homeless." "Actually, I can." And I did. I handed them each an envelope. "These are the details of your new living arrangements. I've paid for 3 months at Extended Stay America. What you do after that is your problem. Extended Stay America? Emma looked horrified. Like a budget hotel? Be grateful, Grandma spoke up, coming to stand beside me. After what you did, you deserve much worse. Mom turned to her, desperate for an ally. Martha, you can't support this. We're your family. Family doesn't abandon each other in hospitals, Grandma snapped. Caroline is more family to me than any of you have ever been. Dad's face turned ugly. You think you can get away with this? I'll sue you. Go ahead, I smiled. I'm sure the courts would love to hear how you committed credit card fraud by taking out cards in my name. Or how you tried to take out loans using my social security number. I have documented everything. Their faces went pale. They knew I had them. The movers will be here in an hour, I continued. They'll pack your personal belongings and deliver them to Extended Stay. Everything else stays, it's all legally mine anyway. But my designer clothes. Emma wailed. Pie jewelry. Check your Instagram posts, I replied coldly. Every time you bragged about a new purchase, I documented it. Anything bought with stolen money stays here. As if on cue, 3 moving trucks pulled up to the house. Professional movers in uniforms began unloading boxes. This isn't over, Dad threatened, but his voice lacked conviction. Actually, it is. I handed them one final document. This is a restraining order. Come near me or any of my properties again and I'll have you arrested. Properties? Mom's eyes widened. What properties? That's when I decided to twist the knife just a little. Oh right. You don't know. I straightened my blazer. I'm not just some office worker you can leech off anymore. I'm the senior investment director at Maxwell Finance. Those accounts you can't access? They're worth over $5 million. Emma's mouth fell open. $5 million. And that's just liquid assets, I continued. The house is worth $2.3 million. My investment portfolio? North of $12 million. They stared at me like they were seeing a stranger. All these years, I said quietly, you treated me like your personal item. Never once did you ask what I actually did for a living. Never once did you show any real interest in my life. You just took and took and took. We can change, Mom pleaded. Give us another chance. Like the chance you gave me when I was lying in that hospital bed? I shook my head. You had years of chances. You wasted them all. The movers had started their work, efficiently packing up personal items. Emma tried to argue about what constituted personal items, but stopped when I mentioned calling the police. Your car keys, I held out my hand. They're my cars, remember? One by one they surrendered their keys. Even Emma's precious BMW, the one she'd bragged about buying herself but was actually funded by my bonus, was mine. The hotel is expecting you, I said, turning to leave. I suggest you call an Uber. Wait. Mom called out desperately. What about family? What about love? I paused, looking back at them one last time. You taught me everything I need to know about family when you left me alone in that hospital. Consider this your final lesson in consequences. Grandma and I drove away, leaving them standing in the driveway amid moving boxes and shattered illusions. In the rearview mirror, I could see Emma collapse dramatically onto a box, while Mom frantically tried to access frozen accounts on her phone. Dad just stood there, finally facing the reality of what they'd done. Are you okay? Grandma asked softly. I thought about it. The pain in my body was still there and the emotional wounds would take time to heal. But for the first time in years I felt free. I will be, I answered. That night I moved into a new penthouse apartment, one they'd never see. I deleted their numbers from my phone and blocked them on all social media. Emma's last Instagram post before I blocked her read, "Sometimes those closest to you are the ones who betray you the most. #heartbroken #homeless." The irony was almost poetic. A month later, I heard through Grandma that they'd moved to a small apartment on the other side of town. Dad had to take a job as a car salesman. Mom was working retail. Emma, faced with actually having to work for a living, had started as a receptionist, a job she considered beneath her. They still try to contact me sometimes, usually through flying monkeys, distant relatives or old family friends who don't know the whole story. They've changed, these people say. They miss you. They're family. But I learned the hard way that family is just a word. It's actions that count. Last week I drove past Extended Stay America out of curiosity. I saw Emma trudging to a bus stop in non-designer clothes, heading to her receptionist job. Mom was loading groceries from a discount store into their used car. Dad was walking home in his polyester car salesman suit. I didn't feel joy at their downfall. I didn't feel sadness either. I felt nothing. And that's when I knew I was truly free. Sometimes at night I look at the old family photos and remember the good times. But then I remember lying in that hospital bed watching them choose a vacation over my recovery, and I know I made the right choice. They taught me that family helps family. So I helped them learn the most valuable lesson of all. Everything has a price, and sometimes that price is everything you have. As for me, I'm healing, both physically and emotionally. My latest investment portfolio just passed $15 million. I have real friends who actually care about me, not my money. And most importantly, I have peace. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. But I think it's best served with a side of justice, garnished with the perfect amount of karma. And that's a meal worth waiting for.